Hey all, and welcome to Shadow Space, and we are commenting on another PCB video. This is called Woke Mom Forces Fed Up Activist Woman to Turn Against Democrats and Come Out as Republican. This was uploaded May 3rd. This is being recorded May 6th, and link is in the description.
I'm no longer a Democrat because I'm a liberal. At this point, it's beginning to feel like I'd be better off voting Republican and fighting against bad ideas within the Republican Party than voting Democrat and fighting against bad ideas inside the Democratic Party. For example, when I bring up concerns I have with friends on the
Well, I mean, if you think about it right now, what the Democrat Party is really fighting against is not bad ideas within the Democrat Party, but are just ideas in general on the Republican side. They're really against Republican ideas. I don't think there's a single Republican idea that a hardcore Democrat, that a true Democrat, truly doesn't like. They're too busy hating Republican ideas.
right about like LGBT rights, immigration issues, abortion, gun control. More often than not, there is room for finding some kind of a middle ground. But when I bring up concerns I have with people on the left about anti-Semitism, Islamism, communism, more often than not, the response is either intimidation, condescension, or just a demand for complete obedience. When your politics require people to submit to orthodoxy, that is not liberalism, that is fascism.
So we got to talk about a fascinating video that is going viral of a young woman who happens to be
Hold on.
LGBTQ.
Is not liberalism, that is fascism. Admit a demand for either intimidation, condescension, or just a demand for complete obedience. When your politics require people to submit to orthodoxy.
See, but the government does require you to submit to orthodoxy. It requires you to like our government our federal government, anyways, requires you to submit to the Constitution. You can't not follow the Constitution. You have to follow it. All governments are orthodoxical. They're what is the word? Oh boy, you're gonna put me on the spot. Of course you are. I can't think of the word is. They're dogmatic. There is a document or a written down structure that determines the rules that you are expected to adhere to. There is a sort of cultural, social law that you're expected to follow within society.
That is not liberalism, that is fascism.
So we got to talk about a fascinating video that is going viral of a young woman who happens to be LGBTQ, I believe, and even somebody like her, who you would think would be aligned with the left, is deciding
See, but no, because
that they are
why?
going to leave the Democrat Party, abandon the far left, and to be Republican, right? To support Republicans because of the excesses of the left, right? The intolerant left. And this is a trend that you're still continuing to see, despite Trump being in power, despite Republicans being in power. Democrats have not dealt with the excesses of the left that, in my opinion, are the reason why they lost in 2024. Okay, they're doubling and tripling down on far left woke lunacy, and that is causing people to still continue to leave the party, like this woman right here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
All right, y'all. I'm officially coming out as a Republican.
Where is she making that video?
The left has truly
She looks like she's in a cubicle at an office. I can't quite tell where she is.
swayed me
They
over
are.
to the right.
I guess I don't know their gender.
And I think they're proud of it too. Because all of this stupid controversy going on because of a comment that I made on a TikTok video.
Like
Here,
this
hold
woman
on.
right here. So without further
I
ado,
missed it.
let's go
Sorry.
ahead and get into this.
All right, y'all. I'm officially coming out as a Republican. The left has
Great.
truly swayed me over to the right. And I think they're proud of it too. Because all of this stupid controversy going on because of a comment that
See, it isn't that they like to do it. It's they don't know any other way to solve their problems other than to push people away. Than to just put them in their own separate box and just separate them, segregate them. Well, then you must not fit in with these people, so go with your people over there and do what you want and leave us over here. But that's not inclusion. That's the opposite of inclusion. That's exclusion. See, their ideals clash with the reality that they actually want to bring about.
I made on a TikTok video. The left mob is absolutely losing.
Well, see, it's also the platform. TikTok and Blue Sky are both very left-wing platforms. And the problem is that, like, for as much as people get mad at X and say that X polices the platform in terms of, like, canceling people or whatever, the left does it just as much, if not more so. You have to be completely on board with the ideology. I can't say it. I'm not going to try.
Its mind. And I used to be on the left.
Yeah.
I used to be gung-ho LGBT. I was an activist for the LGBT people before
Yeah.
gays even had a legal right to marry. I was going out and I was a Glenson representative in my school district. But at this point, I don't want to be associated with the LGBT either, despite even being gay, because I can't stand y'all anymore. Like, I make one comment about a grieving mother who was very respectful about how they were.
Well, I mean, again, they wouldn't even respect your identity as a gay person. If you were to meet a man who dressed and acted and identified as a woman, they would consider that a lesbian relationship. If you consider yourself to be an old school gay, then you do not meet their criteria. You could very well be in a straight relationship and still call yourself gay. It's
referring to their trans
they've
child,
kind
by
of
the way.
destroyed what the
They
words
were
mean.
referring to them as both Michael and Lexi. And
Because they can't actually distinguish between gender and sex. They're the exact same thing, and they're completely inseparable. You can't separate the two. In fact, arguably, they don't even think that sex really exists, and that gender is the only actual marker of your nature.
in the comments of people that actually knew her child were referring to her child
Sorry.
as Michael. In the way, mother who was very respectful about how they. I can't stand y'all anymore. Like, I make one comment about a grieving mother who was very respectful about how they were referring to their trans child, by the way. They were referring to them as both Michael and Lexi. And in the comments of people that actually knew her child were referring to her child as Michael. And she was shit on in the comments for referring to her child as her son. Because the left, the trans mob, will never accept that. They can't let
Well, because they gatekeep what being trans means. What does being trans mean? Arguably, it means whatever you want it to mean. There are no rules. There are an infinite number of genders. You just make it up. Like, it doesn't, it's like, it doesn't, it is such a useless question.
Woman who is taking responsibility for not being a present enough mother, for not loving her child enough, for who's trying to be a better person and being vulnerable in her grief journey, it's still not good enough.
No.
So they have to shit all
And
over.
it never will be. It's what he says. Is that you can't apologize to them because the apology will never be worth it. They will never accept your apology. You will always be lesser or trying to pull something over on them in their eyes. You can't do it.
Her and kick someone when they're down, right? Because that's the righteous thing to do if you're part of the trans mob, insane, like liberal left.
Yeah, I mean, this is par for the course. I mean, I'm not surprised at all. She is just realizing what millions of people have realized over the past decade or so about the Democrat Party, which is that they are extremely, extremely, extremely intolerant. They are literally pushing people away from them as they become more far left, right? That's what they're doing. Okay, they're literally pushing people.
They're exclusive. The party that believes, as part of its acronym, in inclusion, is the most exclusive group, especially of ideas that it doesn't like. And if you're exclusive, then you can't be diverse, because inclusivity implies that you include people who aren't like you. Hence the diversity. If you are exclusive to people who only agree with you and your mindset, then you cannot have diversity.
Hey, no, you're not pure enough, right? And if you don't agree with these people 100%.
If you're all Muslim, then your skin color, or where you come from, or what language you speak, or what clothes you wear, or what food you eat, are completely irrelevant outside of Muslim law. It doesn't matter unless the rules for being a Muslim are irrelevant, in which case, what does it mean to be a Muslim?
Is the reaction, right? Hate and vitriol is the reaction, okay? You're a bad person if you do not agree with the left 100%. And this self-righteous attitude and behavior from the left, it has turned a lot of people off, even people who are otherwise liberal, right? Liberal. I mean, they push liberals into the Republican Party, right?
Well, see, because again, arguably it wasn't any policy. It was literally how they treated this mom. It's how they act. It isn't the things that they advocate. It isn't their causes. It isn't the things that they say. It is the way that they carry out their activism.
Which is probably not a great thing, but at the same time, if you're an old school liberal, right? If you're like an actual reasonable liberal with common sense, that's not too bad, right? I have respect for liberals like that. There's just very few of them left, right? There's just not a lot of them left anymore, okay? But they're out there.
No, well,
okay?
they're being phased
again,
out.
They've already probably been pushed into the Republican Party.
I won't say that.
Just like this woman right here who, she says she's LGBTQ or whatever, but now she can't stand the LGBTQ, okay? Because of their intolerance. So, I find it to be interesting how, despite Trump being in office, you still have this happening, right? Democrats and their embrace of the far left is their Achilles heel, to be honest with you.
So I make a comment just basically supporting the mom, saying you have every right to refer to your child as your son. Apparently that's the worst thing you could ever possibly do as a human being, because...
Well, what if the child is actually gender fluid and doesn't care if they go by one or the other? Those are the names that they choose. Who are they to say that who are they to say what this mother can and cannot call their child? Why do a whole bunch of other random people who otherwise wouldn't have any interaction with this person Why are they dictating the lives of these people? It's because they're dictators.
I have
They all
people
are. They
coming
all
onto my
are.
page, screenshotting my TikToks to shit on my appearance and put it in the
I
comments.
mean, they think they're on the right side of history. That means that anything that they do, that means that going and blowing up a building is right. Anything they do is right. They are on the right side of history. There is nothing that they can do that is wrong. It's all for the cause. It's all for their humanitarian ideals. It's all for the things that they think they hold sacred and dear.
Comments there. Meanwhile, they look identical to me. They're just white liberal women, just flooding the TikTok. That they look like me, like basic white girls.
Yeah. No, that's the demographic that's running the Democrat Party, right? That is running the far left. Okay, leftist white women. Okay, yeah. They're the most radical.
Zohra Mamdani is a liberal white woman?
Out
That's
of everybody, to be
interesting
honest.
to know.
But they're gonna shit on my appearance because I said one thing that they disagreed with.
See, from the people who say that if you call someone fat, that's inappropriate. They can shame you for what you look like. But for me to call some tubby a fat pig is completely unacceptable. Like, why?
It just
No, it's
like,
not.
tell me
Free
you're mentally
speech.
ill without telling me you're mentally ill. Like they're advertising it online at
Yeah.
this point.
Isn't it great?
And then just the bullying. Like coming to my page when you don't know me, and because I made a comment on someone's TikTok that you don't know them either, coming to my page to find videos of me grieving my dead mom, for you to go, talk about him and just misgendering my mom to try to offend me. Like, I don't get offended by pronouns and little tiny words like she, her, he, it, they, like you do. And the fact that you would even go to like my page to shit on my dead mom, like, hello, is this you trying to convince me to get to your side on the left, to be pro-trans? I was never.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Why do they do it? They know that this isn't actually convincing anyone that their side is the right side. There's no rational, sane, good, decent person who could look at that behavior and say, yeah, that's right. That's completely fine and acceptable. And I want other people to be able to engage in that sort of behavior. No.
Anti-trans. And anyone that knows me knows this. I've never been shitty to any of the trans people in my life. I've been nothing but supportive.
Doesn't matter. You only have to slip up once.
Like, I just, like, hello? So, at this point, I'm coming out, I'm voting Republican down the fucking line.
Good.
I'm done. And I don't know. Next thing Trump should do is bring back insane asylums and put these fucking people in it. Thank you and goodbye.
Facts, I agree. Right, I agree. The only universal healthcare I might believe in is universal mental institutions for leftists, right? If we're gonna have universal healthcare, we need to have universal mental care for these far leftists, right? That's what we need, because again, they're insane. And
Well, a lot of them are childlike. A lot of them are very infantile. It's one where they could probably do with being put in some sort of daycare or something where a lot of their day is structured by other people, except then they don't respond at all to authority.
derangement is a mental illness, right? I'm glad she brought that up. Like I said this before, and I'll say it again. Like the intolerance from the left is a mental illness, right? How much they hate Trump, how much they hate conservatives, how much they hate Trump supporters, people who disagree with them politically. Yeah, it's a problem. They need to lay on somebody's couch. Seriously, we have a mental
They're
health
so
issue.
convinced that they are going to be harmed, that people that they know are going to be harmed, that, I mean, it's fear. It's entirely it's entirely based on their perception that something bad is going to happen and they need to do something about
Country. It
it.
is well documented that a vast majority of it comes from these liberals, right? These leftists who self-describe themselves as mentally ill, right?
Though,
So
again, being trans, part of trans identity is having gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is a mental illness. If you are trans because you are gender dysphoric, you have a mental illness. Sorry.
this woman again is just realizing what everybody else has realized that used to be on the left. A lot of people used to be on the left that have said, no, 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 I'm good. I don't want to be in bed with these people, right? I would rather vote Republican. I would rather support Trump. Anything except these intolerant folks, right? And I think this woman is just one of millions who have went through this.
Well,
And hey,
who was that woman, that Republican woman, got shoved by that one guy? How could you see that and think, boy, that sort of protest is where I want to be, where they literally shove people to the ground? That's not okay. Whether you're on the left or the right, it shouldn't matter.
welcome to the team, right? Welcome on board. Leave your liberal beliefs, in the past, right? Your leftist beliefs. I don't care about you being gay. I don't care about you being lesbian. I don't care about who you like to sleep with, right? Just, adhere to common sense, okay? Don't try to force LGBTQ down our throat, which is the reason why she left in the first place, right? Just don't bring the reasons why you left the left over here. That's the only thing that I request. But regardless, congratulations, right, on waking up. Again, you're a sane person. And
Or you could just not play the game. You could say that you could just say that you're apolitical and just not pick a side.
I'm hoping there's a lot of sane people in this country who think just like that, who see the excesses of the left, who
Like,
observe the fact that these people.
I don't consider myself to be in the middle. I don't I don't have a definition. I don't know what I would define myself as. I think a lot of the positions are far too nuanced to just be like, well, do you believe the Democrat position or the Republican position? Well, probably neither, more than likely.
Okay with political violence, right? Like if you don't agree with them, like they openly advocate for violence, right? This is what they do. If you don't agree with them, they don't believe in free speech. They don't believe in civil liberties. They don't believe in equal rights. They don't believe in any of that. They believe in Jim Crow type, segregation and race politics and stuff like that. These people are not. They're not actually liberal, right? They're not the actual definition of liberal. Okay, they're far left, authoritarian, Marxists. Okay, that's who they are. That's who they are at their core. Okay, and if you don't agree with them 100%, then you are a far right Trump supporter, right?
I mean, like, again, you see it. Like, they sit here and complain. Donald Trump, oh, my free speech rights are being taken away. He doesn't allow, if you speak out against Donald Trump, he's gonna send his SS after you, and they're gonna take you away. Okay, well, what do? You take the people that you don't like, and you shove them away, and then call them fascists. You think that's inclusive? Abuse is inclusive, I guess. Like,
Fascist Nazi, right? According to them. And that type of intolerance drives people away. And I'm hoping that millions of people continue to wake up in this country to just how intolerant the left is and the poison that a lot of these people are putting into this country. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
which is great, because then they say that they either don't do it or they won't do it unless the other side does it, which implies that they aren't going to stop doing it. So no one stops. So it all just keeps going. You know? It's one where, so you look at the redistricting efforts, and you're like, well, how can Florida draw its districts the way that it does? Because of this. Because you turn people off. Because you turn people away. Because people who were Democrats aren't Democrats anymore because you've gone so far off the rails. Chuck Norris said this in that video, where he was like, yeah, I used to be a Democrat. And then they went way off the deep end, and I'm not a Democrat anymore. This is continuing to happen with other people who are Democrats. Joe Rogan used to be a Democrat. Donald Trump used to be a Democrat. Like, you are literally getting beaten by people who used to be in your party. Like, they don't care. They don't want to. They want to do it. So they think that that is the only way that they can win. They think that the only way that you can fight bullying is to be a bully. Well, then people who don't want to be bullies and people who don't like bullying aren't going to like you because you're engaging in the same behavior that you say that you don't like. And it's the same behavior that those people don't like. It's a really simple logic. It's a pretty simple formula.